I know a lot of people think that I'm way too serious, that I don't smile enough, that I'm so intense. I've had people remark that here at YouTube, social media, friends, in real life. And that's okay, because I am all of those things. You know, I'm very intense-minded, but I'm also, you know, I do things for fun. You just have to really know me. So anyway, what does that have to do with this video? I took a trip to Los Angeles last week, and of course I had my camera with me because I always carry my camera. And I had my lavalier mic, and I wanted to tell the story of Ransom, a dog that I know, because I think it's the most magnificent story that should be shared, especially given everything that's going on in the world right now. I just think we need a little bit of beautiful sprinkled upon us. And so, you know, I didn't have any lights with me. I didn't have my gimbal. I didn't have my tripod, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, I just shot everything handheld. I shot it on the Panasonic S5. I had a Minolta Rokkor 35mm vintage all manual lens. And you know what? I love the way it looks. You know, I mean, if I was shooting a real documentary, I would have approached it a little bit differently. But, you know, I think it just goes to show you, just pick up your camera, make sure that your sound is good somehow, you know, use your cell phone if you have to, whatever. And just make art. You know, it's great practice. And it's, that's what art is. You know, it's like sometimes you just gotta, you can't plan it. You just have to do it. Just, you know, contribute, you know, just do something. So I'm not going to say anything more about it. You know, I just wanted to share it because in the spirit of not being so serious, even though it's a very serious story, but it's not sad, it's a happy story. I mean, there's some tragedy in it, but it's uplifting, it's inspiring, incredibly inspiring, and at least to me. And see, I smiled. So without further ado, I'm going to shut up now and
Ransom is the dog that lives in my house.
The front and back of the airplane may be detached and used for floating.
He came to me, he was bequeathed to me by my friend Sandy. She adopted him after her former dog died. She kind of adopted him impetuously because she was in grief about her missing dog, and she was looking on the internet, you know, just trying to make herself feel better. She wanted another dog really quickly after he died, but she saw a picture of this face about 4 or 5 months old, and under the picture it said, "Time's up." So she took out a credit card and adopted him. The only problem was that she was in Los Angeles and he was in Georgia. So she had to figure out a way to get him to Los Angeles, and that took about 2 weeks. He had to get a whole bunch of medical stuff done, like be neutered and make sure that he was, you know, fit for travel and fit to come to live in California. So about 3 weeks later, after figuring out how to get a transpo company to take him to the hospital to get all of his medical stuff, and then a transpo company to put him on a plane, she picked him up at LAX, and he happened to be coming in the same day that President Obama was landing in LA. So he had one of two names, ready for him. Either ransom, because it took a ransom to get him here, or POTUS for President of the United States. So he is actually Ransom POTUS Kenyan. Well, Sandy was my best friend, and yes, you heard the was. She died. In 2016, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and she fought it for 4 years, but cancer eventually won. Sandy told me about being sick, and she and I were kind of in a little bit of a rocky period of our friendship, but she shared with me, she took me out to dinner for my birthday in September of 2016, and she shared with me that she had stage 4 ovarian cancer. So whatever the weirdness that we were going through, when I understood that she took the time to share that news with me, I realized that I was part of Team Sandy. And I, that very moment, committed to doing whatever I can to help her. And it turned out that one of the best things I could do, since I work on my way home from work, was her house. I could stop by after work and walk and feed Ransom if Sandy was in treatment or in transit, or if she maybe even not feeling well enough to walk him. So I did that, and she joked that I was his favorite person. So I guess the long and the short of it is that she fought cancer for 4 years. And at some point, maybe in 2018, she bought herself a hot tub. And it was a little weird, but I found it actually hopeful that she went and made this big purchase of a hot tub. And I thought, well, you know what? How many days does she have? I mean, hopefully many, many years, but why not? If you really want a hot tub, get one. Now is the time. So she did, and one day, it was the first day that I had been over there. We got in the hot tub and we drank some wine, and she asked me if I would take Ransom if anything happened to her. And, we were both sobbing, and I said, well, of course I would. I said, I'm so honored that you asked me, and I never said anything because I didn't want to put it out there. I didn't want to even talk about the fact that you maybe couldn't live both of your lives together, you and Ransom, that you could, have Ransom until his end. And even when I said yes that drunken night in the hot tub, I didn't think I'd ever take him. But I did it, I was able to because she died. So it was a little complicated. Truly, I didn't think I would get Ransom. I was certainly hoping that Sandy would have many years. But it came to pass that she did die, and I was committed to taking the dog, even though it wasn't necessarily easy or convenient. I live in a little cottage, back house, in a house in Santa Monica, and my landlord, who is also a friend, but she had a dog, and Ransom's huge, and was that going to work? And even if that was going to work, what was I going to do? I have a full-time job. I couldn't, in all good conscience, leave that giant barky dog on occasion at home all day. So as things kind of were coming, to Sandy's final days, I began, talking to the people around me. And so I mentioned to my landlord, Hillary, that I was taking my friend who's dying, her dog. And Hillary thought for a second, and she said, well, I guess we're going to be a 2-dog household. So that was a huge relief.
Oh, yes. And I'm like, yeah. Liberty. The best jingle ever.
Good point. You cannot fucking forget it. That is the definition of an earworm.
So that was a huge relief. One aspect of life with Ransom was going to work. So I worked for a pretty cool guy, Greg, and I had shared with him, as Sandy was going through her illness, what was going on. And I told him a couple times that she asked me to take Ransom and that I wanted to. And Ransom had also come to visit the office a couple of times, including one time when Sandy was pretty sick and she'd stopped working. And we were just kind of spitballing things, There was nothing definite, but we were talking about things. And she came to the office one day because Greg also has a dog named Elvis. So Sandy said, I'm going to stop by your office and see how those 2 dogs get together. So we kind of hatched a plan where Sandy would come by with Ransom and I would take Elvis for a walk, because Elvis, when she first got to the office, my boss Greg takes his dog Elvis to work every day. And she was kind of not quite aggressive, but not easy with other dogs. So I was a little concerned. So I met Sandy outside, Sandy and Ransom. I had Elvis, and Elvis started getting all agitated, but we just started walking. So Sandy and I were talking, the dogs were walking, and by the time we got 3 blocks away, they were walking in tandem and everybody was fine. Elvis was good. Ransom always is good with other dogs. And so that was a relief, because we knew, at least on the rare occasion, if need be, Ransom could come to work with me. So when Sandy died, I told my boss what was going on and that I would eventually be getting Ransom. And he basically said to me, well, looks like we're going to be a 2-dog office. So it turned out that my village was taking care of me. At home, Ransom was welcome. At work, Ransom was welcome. So it just seemed like any obstacle that might have been in the way was absolutely obliterated by the generosity of those 2 people. So now, Ransom goes to work with me every day, and he and Elvis are pretty good friends.
I have had other dogs, including the most beloved spotty dog, Stinson. But Stinson has been gone now for quite a long time. And living in LA, I adore dogs, and I love people who have dogs, and I was kind of the queen of staying at friends when they were leaving and taking care of the dog and staying at their house and living life with their dog until they got home. But it just didn't ever seem like I should bring a dog into my world. It feels so transient. It's small. It's not mine. But when Ransom came into my life, and with so many parts of the puzzle falling together, I fully became a dog owner again. And the relationship he and I have developed is so close. And I adore him. And for all intents and purposes, he is my dog. And I think he thinks of me as his person. But sometimes I think of my friend. I think of Sandy. And when I do, I think, oh, I can't quite say Ransom is my dog. But, you know, she always said that she was going to haunt people. And if Ransom is how she haunts me, I'll take it.
So, in 2020, she did finally lose the battle, and you know, she had left a lot of things. All of her house was in order, including that Ransom was going to be coming to me, and also Sandy was such a planner, and she had things so organized that she actually left him a trust fund. So Ransom is a far richer being than I am.